Sometimes the mom friend that you're looking for is already in your life. You just don't know it. Now, you guys may have similar experiences, meaning similar lived experiences. You may be on the same career path, or maybe that person has been a stay at home mom like you. Maybe that person has dealt with infertility like I dealt with infertility and was able to build a community through that experience. Now, what happened with me, as I mentioned before, is that for over 7 years, I dealt with infertility. During that time, I started to build a community of other women that I would meet who were going through that experience. I also had a podcast at the time called Black Earth Guide to Fertility that talked about infertility. It talked about my experiences in the beginning, meaning that I talked about everything that I went through from the IUIs to the IVFs and to all the failed attempts. I talked about every single experience I had, including the shame that comes with infertility in the Black community. Now, because I had the podcast and because following the podcast, well, really at the same time the podcast was out, I did a web series. It was a 2 episode web series. It's still on YouTube, so you can check it out if you're interested. And I just poured my heart into this series. And from that, I gained a lot of people following me on social media. As I mentioned before, I'm a playwright, I'm a writer. And so that is my craft. That's the sword, as you say, I will fall on. I love, love, love everything about artistry, everything about writing. And so I put my experiences into that work. And because of that, I started to meet people. I started to get DMs from people. I started to get emails from people. I'm like, how in the world did they get my email address? Like, how are they getting my information? People, saying, hey, I've dealt with this. I dealt with infertility. I'm ashamed. Like, I haven't told anyone. Like, my mom doesn't know. My sisters don't know. No one in my family knows. It's such a shameful thing. And I just begin to like give them advice and tell them, hey, hang in there. Maybe tell someone because that's what freed it up for me. My husband, my husband told we were at we were in New York, okay, going to my grandmother's funeral, okay, and ton of people there. And obviously, when you're married and you're married for a certain amount of time, people start to inquire. And it's not just inquire; they start to dig and they're nosy. And it's like, well, what you waiting for? What's taking so long? Not knowing that you just got to know before you got here. You just had another failed IUI. You just had a failed IVF. Not knowing all the things you put your body through. People just talk and they talk without thinking. They talk without, you know, thinking about how the other person may feel or thinking, oh, I wonder if they're having a problem, like they haven't conceived yet. They've been together for a while. And so he just kind of like said, like, all right, listen, like we've been trying, we're doing infertility treatments, like right now, because when we drove to my grandmother's funeral from Georgia because my sister was pregnant at the time and she couldn't fly. So my husband said, "Oh, he'll just drive us all down." So he drove us down. So we get there, everyone's in the kitchen, and there are, of course, pregnancy questions. Well, my sister's pregnant. Well, what's taking you so long? Da, da, da. And he was like, "Listen, everybody chill out." He was like, these are the things we've done, and I was sick coming down there because I was on, these hormonal medications, and we had to keep stopping because I was sick. Like it was not doing well with my body. Okay. And so even during the car ride, I didn't say anything. I just said, oh, I think I ate something that really upset my stomach, made me feel not well. So when we got to New York, he was just like, listen, like, this is what we're dealing with. This is what she's been going through, and stop with the questions. And the mood and the situation changed from people being aggressive with questions to it then turning into a support system. So, first I chewed him out after that. I was like, how dare you? But after that, as I mentioned, it turned into a support system. And so to go back to the story, because I was building this community, now that my family knew, I was outwardly building this community, talking about my experiences and talking about the things that I went through. And so on that journey, I met a friend. And when I say a friend, we were social media friends. Like we were both on Facebook together. She would post about her experience. I would post about things I was doing. She was a guest on my podcast. And so we both got off Facebook around the same time, went on over to Instagram. We both were over there, and we both got pregnant with our daughters at the same time, meaning the same year. Her daughter was born in the spring, my daughter was born in the summer. And my therapist at the time knew her. And when I was, once I had my daughter, she was like, hey, you should reach out to her. Like, she has a baby too. I was like, yeah, I know. I saw it on social media. And she's like, you guys should connect. But I never connected with her outside of the social media inbox saying, hey, how you doing? And she'd write me, hey, how's it going? How's motherhood? Like, and we both be talking and saying like, oh, this is so hard. So we were like developing a friendship through social media. Fast forward to when I had my son in 2023. Well, when I was pregnant with him, rather. She also became pregnant that same year, pregnant with a boy as well. And so when I saw on social media she was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, girl, like I'm having a kid too. Like, and like we, because we're both in our 40s. So we both were like laughing and like talking. And we even said then, like, we need to meet up. And I said, then once you have the second kid, like, all hell breaks loose. So we did not have time to meet up. And then she reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, how's it going? What's going on?" And I said, "Yeah, just trying to make things work. It's a lot going on." I was explaining to her my husband had some health issues, and she was like, "Hey, we should meet up." And so we exchanged numbers on social media. She texted me, and it was still some time before we actually did end up meeting up, but we were texting back and forth. And then it turned out that my brother knew her husband. We're all from New York. So my brother knew her husband, and they have went to high school together. She's like, oh my gosh, like, I saw you posted something on social media, and my husband saw it, and he was like, he knows your brother. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, they both went to the same Catholic school. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, okay, girl, we definitely have to meet up. So we set a date, we set a play date to meet in between kind of like where both she and I live. It was a kids' play place. I brought my daughter and my son. She brought her daughter and her son. The girls hit it off right away. Like the boys was just doing their own thing. Like they were in the play area, tossing their little balls and stuff in the air, going down the slide. They was doing their own thing. And she said to me, I really want to meet up and get and hang out with you because my son does not have any friends. I was like, my son doesn't have any friends either, except for the friends that, my daughter's friends. He gets invited to all her play dates and birthday parties and stuff like that. It's all girls. And she was like, same here. And she's like, okay, we definitely have to connect again. So we continue to keep in touch, through text and phone. They would send us videos, and then we met up for her daughter's birthday party, and we're gonna meet up again soon. But it's that moment where someone that you knew, I knew her for all these years. When I say all these years, it was over 7. I dealt with infertility for over 7 years. We knew each other through social media. We, like I said, have the same interests. We don't do the same thing in terms of career, but we have the same interests. We know what it feels like to want to be a mom and then to finally achieve that and then to be in motherhood and look around like, oh my God, like, where's my community? Where's my tribe? Who's my son going to hang out with? Who's my daughter going to hang out with? So we had those experiences that just automatically, like, we connected. And even though it was years, it was years from the time that we actually met in person. It was just like that nudge of my therapist saying, hey, I know her. Like, you guys should meet up. You guys have a lot in common. And sometimes it's like taking that step. It's almost like, someone, when you're dating for the first time, or you're not even for the first time, but you're dating, you're going through all these apps and, you're going through, asking friends, hey, hook me up with this person, hook me up with that person, what about this person? And then your neighbor comes across the street and was like, hey, I'm such and such. Like it's that simple sometimes to make a connection, like in terms of moms. Someone that you already know, someone that has already, interfaced with you, someone that's already been in your life, and someone who understands the journey. And so her and I plan to take the kids. Well, we mentioned taking the kids to the doll store, our daughters at least, because her daughter's into the same things my daughter's into. They both like YouTube. They both want to, be out, be social media, I guess social media stars. And so we have that connection in common. And sometimes it's so refreshing to not have to, sell yourself. When I say sell yourself, you ever been in a situation? I have, I've been in all types of experiences where I feel like I'm the odd person out. I mentioned before my daughter went to a preschool, and it was like a country club, and that's back when my husband was working, so he had the money to send her there. And I felt like even though we could afford to send her there, I didn't feel like we had the status. We didn't have, the money, the money that other people had, which automatically made me feel isolated as a mom. It made me feel like, hey, I'm here and there's other moms here. However, I'm not part of this clique. I'm not part of what's going. I'm not part of the country club, so to speak. So to meet someone and to automatically feel like this down to earth, and these are successful people, mind you, the friend that I mentioned, she's successful. But this down to earth quality where it's just like, girl, like, this is just so much when you're with the two kids, and I'm glad we can meet up, and just someone you could be honest with. You don't find that often. All that being said, sometimes the community that you're looking for is hiding in plain sight. You just have to reach out and make the connection.